you can choose any state. In that case, it will be cheaper for you to choose New Jersey, because Entry India can not only provide you the address, but the agent service for free. Naveen, are you sharing the screen? No worries. Uh, so as I was saying, the federal registration where you get you the EIN number, and then the state registration, I forgot to mention, if it's a 100% foreign owned company, it takes little longer to get the EIN number. If you have a domestic partner, you don't have to have a domestic. It's not mandatory to have a domestic partner. But if you have a domestic partner, you can get the EIN number on the same day. If you do not have a domestic member, you can still get the EIN, but the scrutiny, the compliance is a little higher. The paperwork is different, and it takes a little longer, a couple of weeks to get the EIN number. The second step is the state registration, as I was mentioning. Depending on whichever state you choose, you will need, it doesn't have to be a physical office, you will need a virtual office or something. And Geetha will tell you more about the L1 requirement related to having the office space in this country. But the point is, you try to find a state where you already have an access. If you're expecting that you have a client in California, then we register the business in California. If you're expecting you don't have any place where you will have the business, then we register the business in New Jersey. So at least you can get the free virtual address and free agent service. The third step in this whole process is to do the tax and labor registration. Each business in US will have a different type of tax filing obligation. Say, for example, if we are selling to retail, we have sales tax obligation. When I say sales tax, consider VAT, value added tax that you have in India is very, very similar to VAT. So sales tax is only applicable to the retail sales. If you have a service business in most states, and we can search it for you state by state, in most states, service is not taxable. So depending on what you're doing, what you're selling, there, each state will have different tax obligations. So the third step in the business registration process is a tax and labor registration. Say, for example, if you are selling liquor, there is a different registration for liquor taxes, tire taxes, highway taxes if you have the trucking business. So each business will require a different type of tax and labor registration. That's the third step. So at a high level, there are three steps in this whole process: federal registration, where we get you the EIN number, employer identification number. That takes about 2 weeks. If you have 100% foreign owned company, you can get it on the same day. If you have a local domestic partner, the second process, the state registration, again, we look for the nexus where you have a relationship with any state. Otherwise, New Jersey will be cheaper, easier for you, just because you can get certain free services that may not be available in other state. And the third process is the labor registration, where we decide in your type of business what tax filing obligations you will have. Moving on to the next slide. So in the next slide, we have some questions that we are typically asked when we show this slide. These are the typical questions we are asked. We are trying to cover these questions for everybody's benefit, but if it does not include your question, please feel free to ask a question. So we touched upon the first question: which state should I be selecting? Where the no corporate, see, all the America has 50 states. All these states have to survive by the revenue that they make through businesses or the individuals. Some states will claim they have no corporate income tax. Some states will claim they have no personal income tax. But in that case, they will try to recoup the tax through a different name, through a different way. All the states run their business by these tax revenues only. So there is no free ride. The best way to search for a state is where you will be having nexus. Take an example, quick example. Let's say if you register the business in New Jersey and all your business is happening in California. In that case, you will still be required to file the taxes in New Jersey as well as in California. Meaning if you have a nexus in a state, you are required to file the taxes in that state as well, along with the state where you are registered. So why not register the business in that state to begin with, so you can avoid the compliance obligation in two states? Is there any minimum investment required to open the company in US? There is no such minimum investment required. It depends on your type of business. If you have a service business, if you want to hire employees in here, you better have certain months of salary in the US account. But so it depends on your business. There is no such minimum investment that you have to open a company in the US. Depending on which bank you go, when you open the bank account, the banks may have a different requirement where they can ask, depending on which bank, that you have to have $100 or $1,000 or $5,000 to open the bank account. But in order to start the business, there is no minimum investment required. In what case should I open the LLC versus C Corp? We touched upon it. C Corp is typically used where you have a lot of work is being done in India, and the US company is your sales, marketing, billing, collection type of office. Typically, C Corp is the right structure. LLC is typically used when you have large investment made in US and you do not expect profit for certain number of years. Real estate companies are typical example for the LLC. But again, we'll be happy to discuss your specific situation to help you understand what structure would best suit your situation. So Wyoming state has no personal and corporate tax. Should I say Wyoming is a better state? So as we discussed in the first question, all states have to run their business somehow. So Wyoming has no corporate tax or the personal tax, but they will try to use excise tax. Let's say, for example, when you do the annual report or excise report, the state of New Jersey has a flat fees of $75. When you do the same excise report, the annual report, Wyoming has their fees based on the total assets in the company, total shareholders in the company, total revenue in the company. So each state will try to recoup the tax revenue through this way or that way. You need to find where does it make the business sense for you to have the business? Which state makes the most business sense as opposed to just looking at the no corporate tax or no personal tax. If I open a company in Delaware state but rent a space in New Jersey, would I be taxed in both the states? So we have phrased this question intentionally this way. So you don't get taxed in both of the states. You file tax in both the states. So, and what's the difference here? Say if your company is registered in Delaware, so you have to file the taxes in Delaware. But you have all your work is done in New Jersey. So you have a nexus, you have a relation with New Jersey. Let's say if your total profit is $100, we'll ask you how much of the profit is coming from New Jersey and how much of the profit is coming from Delaware. You say all the profit is coming from New Jersey. Okay, so in New Jersey, you pay tax on $100. In Delaware, you still have to file taxes, but your taxable income in Delaware, in this example, is $0. So you still have to pay the minimum tax in Delaware. So you do file the taxes in all those states where you have nexus. You have to pay the minimum tax, and your actual tax by the state depends on your pro rata portion of income in that state. Moving on, if my company is based in Texas, but my client is in New Jersey, would I need to register my company in NJ? And how will my tax be computed? Just by having the client in New Jersey does not create the nexus. But if you have an office space, a warehouse, an employee working in New Jersey, in that case, it creates nexus, and then you will be required to register the business in New Jersey. How is the sales tax computed and filed in US? The sales tax is typically filed every quarter, depending on how much the sales tax collection is. And depending on which state you are dealing with, it could be done monthly. Most states require the sales tax to be filed every quarter. if the sales tax, let's say, for example, in New Jersey, if the amount of sales tax that you're collecting is more than $500 a month, in that case, the sales tax must be filed monthly. Each state will have a different sales tax rate. Say state of New Jersey has a fixed rate of 6.625%. Then there are some UEZ, urban employment zones, where the sales tax is 50% of the regular sales tax. Instead of 6.625, you end up paying 3.3125. Some states like New York will have additional sales tax in the city. So New York City is part of the New York state. So the tax in New York City is much higher than in other area of New York state like Albany and other areas. So the sales tax rate depends on where you do the business. Once you give us the address, we can look for the exact sales tax rate. Typically, it's filed quarterly. In some cases, it may be required to file monthly. Now, how to show the sales tax on the invoice for selling both products and service? How do we know if we have to charge the sales tax and how much that will be? So most product sales, especially to the retailers, are exposed to sales tax calculation. We can look at the address where your office is to see how much sales tax you should be collecting. On the invoice, sales tax is shown as a separate line item. You say, I'm giving this product to you for $100. Your sales tax is, in this example, to New Jersey, 6.625. And your shipping cost is this much, and this is what you pay total. So it's supposed to be shown as a separate item. If you do not collect the sales tax from the customer, you are still responsible to pay the sales tax. Let's say, for example, if you're selling something for $100, you do not show sales tax and you just collect $100, the state says that the actual product was worth $94 and the remaining $6 that you collected are actually for the sales tax. Now, transferring my US company's profit to India, will I pay tax in the US? No, you don't really. It depends how you're doing it. Let's take another example. We took this example earlier. Let's say the total $100 came in. Out of $100, you transfer $90 to India, showing the cost of goods sold, or because the services are being provided from India, or the material is being provided from India, you transfer $90 to India. There is no tax on that $90. In the remaining $10, you pay $2 to the government and keep the $8 here. So it all depends. If you're transferring the profit, that profit is supposed to be after tax profit. If you're transferring the cost of goods sold, because if you're transferring money from US to India as an expense to US, meaning some sort of services are being provided from India, that's why you're transferring the money. There is no tax that you pay on that money. Moving on, I want to open my company that would buy US product and export to India from US. Would I be charged sales tax? Typically not. We will see it as a bulk sale in US. If you are selling to resellers, let's say if you are selling to Walmart or other large store, Costco, Walmart, Sam's Club, then you do not really collect the sales tax from them because they are the resellers. The sales tax kicks in when you are selling to the end user. Now, moving on, can I pay dividend to myself, US non-resident foreign, from my C Corp in the US? And then how will I be taxed? So yes, you can pay dividend to yourself. You can pay salary to yourself. You can be put on the salary. You can be paying dividend or profit distribution. And we will withhold flat 20% tax from your income. You can, if you believe the tax that we are withholding is higher than what you should be paying, you can choose to file the tax in US and request that money refunded back. Consider it more of a TDS kind of situation, tax deducted at source type of situation. You take the money, some taxes are withheld. At the end of the year, you file the tax with the government to get the money back if your income is low. if I open the company and later add a partner with higher majority stake, what change would I have to make in my business registration with the state and federal? Well, so there are two parts to this question. If you are just adding a partner, then your federal EIN state registrations do not change. You just add a partner, you let the state know, you let the federal government know that now instead of two partners, I have three partners, instead of one partner, I have two partners. And this is just for the information filing. If you are adding a majority stakeholder partner, then the responsible party changes. So in case of federal registration, state registration, you have to let them know, instead of me being responsible, this new person will be responsible for all sorts of tax or legal communication on behalf of this company. That's only applicable when you are adding somebody with a higher majority stake. If you're adding somebody with a lower majority, less than 50% stakes, then you just let the state know this is a new member, and instead of two members, we'll have three members. Moving on, there are some questions in here. If you have not written your question based on what we have so far, please write your question so we can try to address that for you.
Manvi, because my system crashed, I don't have access to all the questions. So can you start from question number 1? Because all I see is Kishan's question about furniture, nothing before that.
Okay.
And I would say Jawaharji is raising hand. Jawaharji, I'll request if you can please write the question in the chat box. It'll be easier for us to address all the questions.
Okay, so first question we have from Anuj. And Anuj is asking, we already have an LLC in US. It is not a subsidiary or associate, but related party. Can I still apply for L1A or L1B?
We will hold on to that question after my presentation. Geetha will be presenting. She will be talking about the L1, the legal part of it, and then she can answer this question.
Okay. Okay, next we have Vipul. Vipul is asking, any federal benefits for green hydrogen producers in US?
I'm not aware of it, especially for green hydrogen. We can look for it. If you already have a business in US, please get in touch with Manvi. There's so much licensing, so much requirement for each type of business. I wasn't really specifically prepared for green hydrogen producers type of business. I'll be happy to look into it, but right now I'm happy to answer your business startup related question, compliance related question, tax related question.
Okay, so Naveen sir, next question is for you. I am a startup and looking for funding. I have innovative products and some goods products which can do very well in USA. I'm targeting the US mainstream and not the Indian diaspora.
Well, you see, again, please write an email to me, Manvi, provide my email ID here,
Okay,
so that this, I'm writing it up. So write an email to me with some details, and then I'll be happy to look into that. Manvi, carry on.
Yeah. Next we have, how about furniture? I don't know what does he mean by this. Kishan is writing, how about furniture?
Kishan, can you just elaborate on your query so that we can understand it better? Let's go to the next one. Manvi, I can take upon the next one. Vipul Chaturvedi is asking, tax compliance in more than one state, how does it work? Is it double taxation?
I think we covered this question. It's not double taxation as such, it's double filing. We will see how much of the net profit is coming from each state, and you will be responsible to pay the taxes on that profit. The problem comes when you have no profit but an excess. Let's say you start the business in Delaware, but all your profit is coming from New Jersey. In that case, you are still expected to file the taxes in Delaware and pay the minimum taxes. Each state will have a minimum tax liability. It could start from $25 to $800. So you still have to pay that much money, even if you have no profit coming from. So it's not double taxation as such. It's more of a double filing.
Okay. And his next question is, what's corporate tax on LLC?
It's the same tax. If it depends, if it's a foreign-owned LLC, 100% foreign-owned LLC, it will go through the same tax treatment as C corporation, unless you have a social security number, meaning you have a domestic partner where it becomes a flow-through entity. And in that case, the tax rate varies from 10% to 37% for a US domestic person. But for a foreign person, it will still be 21%.
Wonderful. Next question is from App Mechanic. The question is more on L1A, and that will cover after Geetha's presentation. Let's go to the next one. Vipul is again asking, what's the cost to incorporate LLC?
It's the same cost. It wouldn't matter for an LLC or a C corporation. The cost depends on if you have a local US partner or not. The compliance, the timing, the paperwork depends on if you have a local US partner or not. If you have a local US partner, for example, we can do the registration within a day. All the federal registration, state registration, tax registration, labor registration, all of it can be completed in one day if you have a 5% local US partner. If you do not have any local US partner, it takes us a couple of weeks to complete the paperwork to get you the EIN, sometimes even longer. So the cost actually depends on your type of situation, but it does not change between LLC or C corp.
Wonderful. Okay, so next question is from an official from Astute Academy. And the person is asking, do we need person with social security number to open up a company? I want to start 100% owned personal company.
You do not have, we discussed this question briefly. You do not have to have a local US partner with SSN. You can have a 100% foreign owned company that you own personally, even if you don't have a social security number. It just makes things easier, faster, cheaper if you have a local US partner, only because the US government sees it that this is the person we can chase down. If the taxes are not filed, if the compliance is not done, who do we go behind? So the paperwork is different. The compliance for the registration is slightly different when you have a 100% foreign owned company, but it's still allowed.
Wonderful. Next question is someone, iPhone, it says, the question is, if the seller paid 2 times tax for one sales, will it not be a double tax? Will I get a return of one tax?
I'm not sure if I understand the question, but the seller typically does not pay 2 taxes. As we discussed, if you are selling to a reseller, then the first seller does not pay sales tax or VAT. The sales tax comes in picture when you are selling it to the end user. But in theory, if you are paying double taxes at any time in this business cycle, you will have the right for refund to one tax. But it's not common. I don't really see that situation happening.
Okay, next question is by Sandeep Mundra. Sandeep is asking, can a H1B visa holder be C Corp local promoter with small 1 to 2% stack? 1 to 2% stock maybe.
So my understanding is, and Geetha will give more insight into it, my understanding is H1B visa holder can open the C corporation, can open the company, any type of company. They just cannot actively work for that company. So the H1B visa holders are considered as an investor into a C corporation. It's done all the time. H1B holders have the C corporation, but they just cannot be on the payroll of that C corporation because the H1B visa requires you to be working for a particular company where the visa has been issued.
Okay, next question. Jawahar is asking, if I start a company in New Jersey and rent a warehouse in California to store my products from India, do I need to register my company in California also?
Yes, we will see the warehouse in California as a nexus in California. In that case, you will be required to have the business registered in California as well as a foreign registration. So in this example, New Jersey is your home state and California will be your foreign state for a foreign registration. But nonetheless, we'll ask you at the end of the year, how much of the profit is coming from New Jersey, how much of the profit is coming from California. And then on the pro rata share, you pay the taxes in those states.
Okay, next question is by someone I found. It says, how can I find a reputed agent? Is there any authorized website?
Well, as you know, everybody can put whatever they want to put on Google, on internet these days. So it's kind of hard to find. There's no such authorized website that I'm aware of. You have to look through the Google reviews or references or companies that are big enough or have done this type of work for multiple companies. I'm sure, Manvi, we can help you find an agent in the state of your choice. But on the internet, anybody can put whatever they want to put.
Right. Okay. So Jawar is asking, what is the annual compliance requirements for a company started in NJ? What is the minimum tax for NJ company?
So each company in this country have to do a federal registration, state registration, tax and labor registration. Now, from that perspective, at the end of the year, every company has to have two minimum filing compliance requirement. They have to file something called an income tax. Even if you have no income, even if you have not even opened the bank account, you still have the filing obligation. And we call it, let's say, income tax, which is done at the federal level and the state level. Federal income tax, state income tax, that's one requirement. Income tax filing requirement. The second requirement is more of an annual report / excise report filing requirement. So each state is sort of a license renewal. On a fiscal year basis, if you register the business in April, next year April with the state, you have to do certain filings, let the state know that these are still the owners in the business is still active, you still want to continue the business. So more of a license renewal. Each state will call it with a different name. Some states call it excise filing, some states call it annual report filing, but that's another filing you have.
Okay. So now we have another question by Prism IT Solutions. So the official is writing, we are dealing in software product. Those are downloadable from the website. In this case, can we have a registered office in US without having any employees, just to show our presence in the US?
Yes, it's done all the time. You do not, in order to have the company in US, it's not mandatory for you to have employees in US. A lot of times people have company in US, have a bank account in US, and bank account is operated online and all the work is done through India. So it's not mandatory for you to have an employee in US in order to have the company in US.
Wonderful. Reshma is asking, how much stake does local person to have? 5% minimum?
Minimum 5%. It depends on the bank. In theory, you can go with any percent, 1% or whatever, but a lot of banks will insist that the local person has 5%.
Wonderful. Now Jay is asking, if product is shipped from India to US, the business is B2B. There would be import duty plus sales tax. If B2B and not to consumer.
If it's business to business, I'm assuming it's coming to reseller. Let's say if the product is being shipped from India to Amazon or to Walmart, in that case, Walmart is the reseller. Walmart is selling to the consumer, not you, not the Indian company. In that case, you won't have the sales tax filing exposure. On the other hand, if you have an Amazon portal and you're selling to the end user, the consumer, through your own portal, then you are responsible for the sales tax, which Amazon can help you collect and pay on your behalf.
Wonderful. Ajay, because just to add upon onto this question on behalf of everyone, let me ask you. So if I'm selling products B2B, there is no sales tax. But if I was selling services, then how it works? Sales tax.
Yes, in some states. So services is not as easy. It depends on the state to state. For example, in New Jersey, services have no sales tax exposure. But there are certain states, say for example in Connecticut, services are sales taxable, are exposed to sales tax. So depending on which state you are providing the service, which state you are providing the service from, we have to see if that state have any service related sales tax exposed.
Wonderful. Now, RB Lahoti is asking, I am having factory in India. Can I use my daughter's, daughter is on H-1B visa, home in California as address for registering my company there? And can I use his place to store my goods as warehouse?
I don't see any problem from a registration process. You can of course use your daughter's address and home for business registration. As far as using that place as a warehouse to store the good, you have to check with the local community rules if they allow the, I mean, I don't know how big of a warehouse you're planning. I'm not sure if your daughter owns the house. If she's renting, it may be a good idea to check with the landlord if they have any objection, but legally, I don't see any issue in using that address for the business registration.
Okay, now Reshma is saying, as a follow-up question, with local business person, tax will be lower between 10 to 21%?
No, that would be slightly misleading. Let's take an example just to clarify. If you have a local, if you make $100 and you have a 10% local US person as an owner. So we will assume out of $100, 10% or $10 belongs to this US person. So on that $10, your tax rate will be much lower. But the remaining $90 that belongs to the foreign person will still be taxed at 21%. The tax rate for the local person in this example, the $10, that depends on the income, the total income for that local person. And that can vary from 10% to 37%. Let's say if this local person is making $500,000, $500,000 from other sources of income, and he is making another $10 from your company, then this $10 will be taxed at 30% for him. So depending on the total income of that local person, the tax rate can vary from 10% to 37%.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so Jawar is asking next question. How many partners can be in an LLC company?
There is no limit. S Corp has a limit of 100 members, but S Corp is not allowed for foreign owners. LLC has no such limit, or C Corp has no such limit as how many members can be there. You can choose a lot of C corporations are public companies where you have millions of shareholders. So in theory, you can have as many as you.
Okay, so Vivek is asking actually me, what are the typical annual company maintenance charges, including all government and entry USA fees? Well, Vivek, we'll talk about it offline, but it depends on your business and the revenue that it is making. So we'll typically filing for tax returns, annual tax returns and annual report filing. Then there are registered agent fees and there can be an address fee. So it depends in what state you are functioning from. In the case of us, if you open up a company in New Jersey, other than saying that there are going to be filing charges for filing tax returns, annual tax returns, or state registration fee. Now, if we become your registered agent, we never charge any money for as many years that you work with us. That's 10 years. So 10 years, there is no registered agent fee, but for every state, wherever you go, and even in New Jersey, if we are not your hired experts to form your company, and if we are not your registered agent, then everybody charges it. And in our case, for the first whole year, we do not charge business address fee also. So, but the bigger part of the number we'll talk about offline. Thank you for your question. Let's go to the next one. RB Lohiti is asking, my daughter and son-in-law own the house jointly. So that's the same question, that can they use their house to register a business in California?
I'm sure they can. I don't see any problem as far as the warehousing is needed. Warehousing requirements are there. I'm not sure how big of the house is, how big of the warehouse is. you are looking for, check with the local community norms. If people have problem in having a large truck coming into the community, but I don't see any problem in having you using the basement for the warehouse or having that address as the registration address.
Wonderful, Ajay. That was the last question. And before we end this part of the webinar, Manvi, I request you to share the link where any participant can fill the form. And Vivek, please fill the form there. And all the details will be shared with all the team members. And then we can get back to you with respect to your specific requirement in the US market. Another part is, Manvi, please share the WhatsApp number for our business oriented discussion so that anyone can save that number and talk to us. But one thing on the sidelines, in America, it's seldomly business WhatsApp is used for business purposes. It's very rare that people use WhatsApp to discuss their business related queries or questions. Normally it is SMS or it is email, but not so much of WhatsApp. So, and Manvi has shared on your screen chat box, you will see the WhatsApp number. Please share it. And this is one link right now. Our site is getting restructured based on certain requirements. All those questions that Ajay has answered so far and the question that you saw in the presentation, those questions are being kind of mined based on our experience working with a lot of companies in the last couple of years. And that's how we are populating these questions and giving you the answers. And that's the end of it. But Ajay is going to be here for next 35, 40, 50 minutes till the time Geetha's presentation is over. So feel free to ask your queries. Okay, as more you hear about, maybe more thoughts will appear and more queries will generate. All right. Okay, Ajay. Well, thank you very much. Now let me add my another expert, Geetha, to the call now. So Geetha is once again as a paralegal, is an expert in filing for visas. I'm not saying hundreds, but I'm saying thousands. So you are in the best hands. Geetha is also based in New Jersey. Once again, everyone, all my team is based out of New Jersey. Of course, we are very well connected in other states also. New Jersey essentially is a hub of Indians with 400,000 plus Indians living in that area. And it is the most strategic state in the US, with Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, the third largest port, and also the airport caters to direct flights between Mumbai and New Jersey, and also Delhi and New Jersey, and from JFK also Delhi and Mumbai to New York. Well, anyways, we are going to get started with Geetha's presentation on L1A. So sit tight. I am going to okay, just first of all, just before that, this is on your screen. Do you see that or you don't? Hold on.
No, Naveen, we cannot.
You cannot? Okay, hold on. Just let me show everyone. Okay, there it is. Okay. Guys, just give. So this is the team that we have, and you see Ajay there on the screen on the rightmost corner seat, and I am there on the leftmost. And so the team is available to you at your disposal. There are 9 CPAs, 20 plus accountants there. So you are in great hands and with full support to you. Now let's moving on to Geetha's presentation on L1A. So other than, as I stated, that all the services which exist, now L1A is the next level. And this is how I talk about L1A whenever somebody says that they want to get into the US market and they want to open up a company. My general philosophy is that company formation is a part of the business that you have to do. So if you come with a vision, with a larger goal, not with a dating kind of relationship with the US market, but a marrying kind of relationship where you see yourself growing, not in 3 months, 6 months, you are seeing yourself there, but let's say 3 years to 5 years. So L1A, with respect to L1A, it should be a part of your game plan, because that is the best route to expand your business, it is just like you taking care of your own baby rather than giving it to a surrogate mother or a child care center. So L1A gives you that feasibility, that leverage that you can take upon by being in US and being in touch with your clients. So L1A is the best route, as I said. Now Geetha will go over the presentation, and well, any questions, feel free to ask in the chat box and we'll address. So Geetha, there you go.
Thank you, Naveen, very much for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Geetha, and I'm an immigration paralegal. Specifically, my primary focus is on the immigration aspects. So today, thank you for this opportunity, Naveen. Today, we are going to talk about specifically L1A visa. But however, before we start digging into more details, I would say there are a variety of visa options across the globe that United States has. And typically this visa type or the visa category that one can benefit of depends on what kind of a visa you actually fall into, and depends on the eligibility. So today, while we discuss on L1A visa, there are other visa varieties which I can discuss with you later. After you can reach out to Naveen. We can also explore if the L1A option is not working out. So to begin with, the L1A visa is a non-immigrant visa that is designed to allow multinational companies to send their executive managers over to the US. And so for this particular statement, you have to ensure that the L1A visa typically needs to have an affiliate, a subsidiary relationship, or any kind of a relationship. Say if your office is in India, you need to have this relationship formed with the US entity. That is for sure. So if you don't have an office, like Ajay spoke, there is a team that could help you out. It can be in New Jersey, it can be in any state, but it is very, very important to have an office in the United States for you to be actually eligible for the L1 visa. That is one of the criterias. And the other is, there is a relationship that is very important for you to form between the Indian entity or between any other foreign entity with the one in the US. So this L1A visa is typically a non-immigrant. The name itself says it's a non-immigrant, meaning it does not show an intent for you to settle down in the US. But again, there is an easy and a very nice route that USCIS, the Immigration Government Office, that has formed in the United States, which will allow you to gradually route the green card. So the L1A visa in the most recent times is the quickest way that you could avail to get a route to the green card. But again, we need to carefully evaluate all the compliances and all the eligibility that one will have to actually benefit the L1A visa. The L1A visa is widely considered very advantageous because of the minimal qualifications, unlike the other visa types, like for the H1 or the L1B visa, which is a different category that is specifically towards specialty and specialized occupations. I'm not talking more about that. The reason why it is easy and advantageous is L1A, you know what you need, a relationship between the entities for you to establish. Again, the L1A visa will have two types of varieties, which is the functional manager and the executive managerial capacity, which you see on the screen. The first one, like I said, once you establish the relationship between the entities, now the second step will be to evaluate who the person will be from the Indian entity or from any other foreign entity who is eligible for this kind of a role, the functional manager or the executive managerial capacity. Functional manager is typically you are owning a function in the United States and you will be performing the same kind of a job role in the United States. The functional managerial role should be the same or in India and in any other countries, and the same will be performed in the United States. So function is specific to a field, like it can be an accounting, it can be an HR, it can be to any other field your company is specializing in. So that is limited to a particular function of the company that you perform. That is again, we need to evaluate case by case of what the roles and responsibilities of the person whom you are referring is eligible for the L1A visa. Now, coming back to the executive managerial capacity, the person who will be eligible for this role needs to be basically in an executive capacity, meaning they are entirely looking into the operations of the company. It can be a CEO's role, it can be a director's role. Basically, we will evaluate all the roles and responsibilities this person is performing, whether in India or in any other foreign country, and then determine the eligibility of the L1A visa to that particular beneficiary. So under this visa, the managers and executives can stay in the US after approval of the visa for up to 3 years. Initially, USCIS is approving for 3 years, and this is for one variety of L1 visa. I'm going to talk about the new office L1A visa in the next slide. So typically the approval is for 3 years and then another 2 years of extension, by the time which we should be in a position to file the green card application if everything is compliant with what we filed with the USCIS. So there is a lot of evaluation we need to do step by step once the visa is approved. Now, given that the situation over here, like many of you are looking to open your branches, open your offices, some of you have office spaces in India, you have your business running in India or any other parts of the world, and you want to explore and open a branch in the United States, like again, Ajay has already mentioned, the L1A visa requires one to have an office in the United States for you to be eligible, because if you have an entity in India and you want to establish a relationship of an affiliate, subsidiary, and everything which Ajay can take care of, it is important, mandatory for the relationship to be established for you to be even eligible. That means an L1A visa holder or the company who is sponsoring the L1A visa must have a branch or an affiliate or a company formed in the United States prior to even establishing any of these paperwork. So it's very, very important that you have this. So this particular thing is setting apart the other types of visas, and an L1A visa is really advantageous in terms of establishing the relationship and how we can evaluate and get somebody on the L1A visa to the United States in both of the roles that I have mentioned a while ago, the functional manager and the executive managerial capacity. So we'll talk in the next slide more about the L1A visa new office. Can I have the next slide? So there are specific requirements, as you see in the presentation, that you should meet for the L1A new office visa. You must be able to present that you or the employer, like the Indian employer or somebody in the Europe or somebody in the Australia, has an office space which is rented, or you can have your own building, and any other kinds of arrangements which has evidence, proper evidence documented, because we are going to submit that to the government, which is the United States Immigration Services, saying this is one of the eligibilities and this company meets the requirement of having an office space. Now, it is very important you do this due diligence of opening an office prior to, again, starting any of this visa work, because USCIS is going to determine, they are going to evaluate, they are going to audit and check. And sometimes USCIS officers do visit the offices to ensure that this is correct. So we need proper evidences for your for the building space, or for the lease of the office that you have taken. In the next statement, if you see, in the 3 years leading up to your L1A visa, you must have been employed with the company for at least one continuous year as an operating manager or executive. This is the third criteria, which is very, very important. First is establishing a relationship between the companies, between the foreign and the United States. Second thing is having an office space or registering your company in the United States. The third evaluation criteria is the person whom we are proposing for the L1A visa must have been working with the foreign company, which here I would say Indian company, again, any other part of the globe. That person should have been employed with that company for the past 12 months in the consecutive 3 years. And USCIS is very particular about this criteria. To evaluate, we would need to see the relationship, the paperwork that you have to establish this. Typically, we submit pay stubs. We have the offer letters, the employment offer letters that, or any other relationship that you could provide to us for us to evaluate and ensure that a person who is being proposed for the L1A visa is eligible. So this is another important criteria, that you be employed with the foreign company. You have very good evidence to provide to the USCIS to show that your employment is continuous with the foreign company and makes you eligible for the L1A visa to enter the United States. Again, you must prove that the L1A visa office will achieve the doing business standard with 1 year of having your L1 petition approved. Now, once all of this criteria is proved, established, we will file the L1A visa based on the documentation. So now for the L1A new office visa, it is important that you also show a projection for the next 5 years, which is typically the time of your L1A visa being approved. So the first 3 years and then the 2 years. Now it is important for you to project your financials. This is how my hiring process would be. This is how my business would be. This is how I'm going to generate revenue. And this will help USCIS determine that you're going to do business over here. Stay on all the compliance aspects of what you have submitted in the petition. Saying, for example, somebody has a software company and they're saying we want to expand in the United States, and this is what we are saying: in the next 12 months we are going to hire at least 12 people, and we will submit this in the petition. And then I'm at the end of the 12th month, once the visa is approved, we are going to review of what we have submitted versus what the company has achieved. This is very, very important. This is called a business plan, a business projection, in which we are going to talk about an estimated numbers of how the company is having the vision of achieving their business goals. So this is very important. And now for the first year, when USCIS approves the petition, and when we file an extension at a later point, USCIS will go back to all this paperwork, go back to the business plan and see your projections versus of what you have achieved so far. So it's important for us to make accurate projections and try achieving them when you're in the United States. So here I'll take a pause. Naveen, do you have, anybody has any questions that I should be?
I guess,
See?
yes, there are a lot of questions. So, so I guess starting from the top, it's not even a question, that's a whole paragraph there. That app mechanic, you want to take the questions now or at the end of the presentation? I guess, Geetha, let's end the presentation and then take upon these questions.
Okay, yeah, that fair enough. Yeah. Okay. I want to move on to the next slide.
Yes.
The next slide, as I mentioned, is talking about doing business in the United States. When you are going to open the office or you already have an office open, doing business is something that USCIS is specific and verifies of what kind of a business you're doing and is the business really existing. So when I submit a petition for the USCIS will go back and audit each of your companies, They are going to verify what you do in India, what you do in Europe, what you do in Australia, and is the business existing? Point one. The second term is what kind of a business are you going to conduct in the United States? So doing business as such for the L1 visa is so important that you provide accurate and good evidence saying this is what you have been doing in India, and this is the criteria we are meeting, and this is what we plan to do in the United States. So any kind of documentary evidences for that the business is existing and is going to perform in the United States is mandatory to be submitted to the USCIS. Now, as a manager, you must be eligible or able to hire, control, and the daily task of your employees in the new office. So this is specifically for the second job title, which I have said, in executive managerial capacity. You should be in a position to take all the hiring, firing decisions for your company. You should be hand-holding all the operational tasks for your company. You should be overseeing. It's not that you do the job, you're making them do the job. So an executive role itself says you're in a position to take larger decisions for your company. And that's the reason you're coming to the United States with a significant vision under a supervision role, wherein you have a team under you and you're in a position to make any decisions for the company. This is again very important for someone whom you're proposing for the L1A visa role for the United States. This is specifically for the executive managerial capacity role, not the functional manager. The executive managerial role must meet this criteria at the time of evaluation of all the paperwork. So this is another important point that everyone needs to know. Can I have the next slide? Yeah. So like I have given you an overview, the first step to opening a L1A visa in the office is to rent, purchase, buy, own a business premises. This is very important. And even though many businesses are conducted exclusively online, unless and until you have a need for the visa requirements, it's okay. Like Ajay had already said, it's okay for you to do online businesses and then manage. There are a lot of foreign nationals who do this while being in the foreign country and performing business in the United States. And Ajay and Naveen can talk more about it. But in case you want to look at the visa options, specifically L1, you need to have a business space, office space, for you to perform the duties that we are going to talk about in the petition being submitted to the government. It must be a physical location. You must have proper lease agreements. You must have proper purchase agreements if you're buying a space, and you must have sufficient space rented out, wherein I'm going to say, hey, this person is for the L1 and they're going to sit in this office space. To the extent USCIS would also want to see the pictures of the office. So it's very important that we establish this particular criteria when we are submitting the petition. So you should also have a robust L1A business visa business plan, about which we already spoke. The business visa plan is very important, and we help you with in creating one. And while this is not an official requirement, USCIS in the most recent times is reviewing these business plans. While there is no memorandum that it has officially released, but most of the times the business plan is what is based for USCIS to approve. So given that somebody who is opening a company, USCIS wants to see how much are you contributing to the economy of the United States, which is important, and how you project for the business to grow in the next few years. So the L1A business plan plays a very important role. Now, your new office must be formed into a taxable entity. Many employers choose to have the entity become a corporation or a limited liability company, which Ajay already spoke about. To do this, you need to file the articles of incorporation with the Department of State, and we are here to help you do that. Because again, when we are submitting the L1A visa petition to the USCIS, it is important we establish and submit all these evidences, all these company documents, all these incorporation articles of incorporation documents to the government. Very important. Can I have the next slide? So there is a difference between the L1A new office visa versus L1 visa. Like L1A new office itself says, you're coming here to open the new office, and then the way the petition is submitted to the USCIS is with projections, with everything that you could do here, saying, I'm going to come and perform the business over here. Versus the L1 visa, there is another variety for which we can propose and evaluate based on each individual's case. If a company is already existing in the United States, we can evaluate and see if the person who is being proposed for the L1A visa is in the position that we have earlier discussed, a functional manager or an executive capacity, can come to the United States. But again, each criteria for a company is so different. We need to properly evaluate who is being proposed, what is their current job duties, and what is their proposed job duties for the United States. So I would say somebody who is already established their company in the United States, it's been a couple of years or it's been more than an year, we can look at the L1 visa option. But for this, you don't need the business plan or the projection. We can evaluate based on your current job duties and your proposed role in the United States to apply for one. So the purpose of every non-immigrant visa is to stimulate the local economy. Again, USCIS wants to see how the businesses are contributing to the United States economy, and they are going to evaluate each and every documentary evidence that is submitted to them to approve the petitions, and moving forward, even approve the extensions at a later point when we submit. So all of the above criteria that we have discussed, including any affiliate relationships with the company for the business, evaluating the role of the person who is being proposed to opening an office in the United States. So every criteria that we discussed is very, very important. And again, only when we evaluate case-to-case basis is when we can determine the eligibility and let you know if there is something that needs to be taken care of. Can you move on to the next slide? I have discussed about a couple of scenarios that we can see here. Existing office of a company not related to the foreign parent entity, eligibility for L1 visa. In case an entity based in the USA is not an affiliate or a subsidiary of the foreign parent company, it is essential to form that relationship. Either the United States company can be a parent company holding 100%, or again, based on what kind of a percentage or the stock relationship with the foreign company it is. Or you can prove if you have acquired another company, it can be either ways. The US is a parent company, the Indian can be a parent company, but either ways, it is important for us to establish the relationship between the foreign and the United States company. So you can think about acquiring. Acquisition is one way, and thus provide an evidence of what the company is and how you have acquired, or what is the relationship between the company in the United States and in the India. So there are percentages. Typically 50-50 ownership is okay, but USCIS would love to see how this ownership percentage is also structured. Meaning, if the United States company is a parent company, it must own 100% of the company in India. Vice versa, if the Indian company is 100% owning the one in the United States, we need to properly establish the relationship and also let the USCIS know what is the percentage of relationship between the companies. So again, this is like case-to-case basis that we could see the documentary evidences and then determine the eligibility. So in the next scenario, in case a new office is being incorporated in the United States, then the registered office in the United States must be 100% owned subsidiary, which we just spoke about. And we can prove this with all the evidences. Ajay is there always to help us with any of these paperworks. So can I have the next slide? So overview, bottom line, these are the important things somebody looking at an L1A visa must keep in mind. Writing a business plan for the new office, we can help you out. We have very good teams who could work on that. Obtaining an office lease. This is very, very important. Without an office space, without an office agreement, without a place where you could say that to the USCIS that I have an office space where this beneficiary is going to sit and work. This is very important. Company registration, articles of incorporation, again, very, very important for you to think of even before you come and talk about L1 visa. We need to see who is being proposed for the L1 visa, their organizational charts, their hierarchy levels in the company, what they do, how long they have been employed with the company and everything. The hiring personnel, we have to see each and every structure, again, the organization charts and the hiring personnel. We have to ensure they're meeting the criteria and they are in the executive capacity role to properly determine the eligibility for L1. And all these above criteria will help you obtain, if everything is in compliance with the USCIS rules and policies, this will give you maximum chances of getting your first visa extension for the L1 new office. Now, the other type of visa that I spoke about for an existing office who is eligible for L1, you will be, if all the paperwork is properly documented and we are able to submit, USCIS also approves for the first 3 years. So there are, like, again, case to case basis, we need to properly evaluate before we confirm anything.
Okay, yes, so Geetha, I think this is the last slide of your presentation.
Yes.
We covered
Yeah.
everything. Okay, now let's open up the floor for questions and answers. So let's start from the first one that I have on top, and then we move along. So you see the first question is app mechanic. Okay, this is pretty long. Whosoever the official of app mechanic is, please be a little more specific to your query. Otherwise, it will take a long time to address every part of it. So my request to you is to please write down. And I want to request everyone whose name appears like, app mechanic, iPhone or whatever, please state your name. It helps me to address you better, right? Otherwise, it appears a little odd. Who am I calling app mechanic? So my request, my friend, is to please be specific in your question. And I know that you have a question, so you have written so much, so you have thought about it so much. So if you go question by question, it will be easy for us to address them. Okay. All right. So now let's go to the next one. I have is, okay, this we have addressed, the Vipul Chadha we have addressed. Okay. Okay, one question, even though Ajay ji has answered that, but a part to it, let me ask you. So the question was by Sandeep Mundra. Sandeep had asked, can a H1B visa holder be a C corporation, local promoter with small 1 to 2% stake in the company?
Yes, so like Ajay answered, the H1 visa holder can have a percentage of whatever this thing, but legally they cannot work for that company. They can have this pass through entities or something like that, but they cannot work for that company.
Okay, so let's go to the next question. In case, Geetha, my question, just so that everyone is here. Now, I cannot, can I, on the H1B, I have a social security number, I can open up a company.
You can, but again, there is always a risk. Now, somebody has to understand what is an H1. H1 is something specific to a company. Somebody is coming on an H1B specialty occupation to perform a specific type of duty in the United States. I would not recommend for somebody to risk their already existing visa and doing anything that is out of their petition, right? So somebody has to properly analyze. H1B is a specialty occupation. Although they can open the company or do anything, but they are not supposed to work while on H1 for another company unless and until it is properly documented, properly filed with the USCIS. Now we can talk about that in another, somebody can reach out to you, Naveen, but
yes,
H1B visa also has another variety of a filing type, which is called the concurrent filing, H1B concurrent, and we can talk about this later. But if somebody is willing to file, want to work with another company, they must do this H1B concurrent filing with the USCIS. I would not definitely recommend doing any other job duties, staying on H1 and work for another company which has not been reported to the USCIS.
Got it. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Okay, there are more questions for Ajay also. So app mechanic is asking, okay, here it is. He says, can I take a co-working space for L1A visa to show an office?
Yes, but again, you need to have proper office. If you're saying co-worker space, again, USCIS will come back, including, I have seen USCIS asking to show space which is like so and so feet. Can one office, one personal fit in this particular office space? So when you're saying a co-working space, do not restrict to just one seater. That is not going to work. USCIS will look at proper leasing. You can do it. To answer your question, co-working space is okay, but ensure you're able to have a proper office space which you can show that we have enough space to sit, we have enough space to perform operations, because certain types of businesses need a little office space, right? Certain types of businesses do need. So you make sure you are covering up all of those criteria.
So on everyone's behalf, Geetha, let me ask you this question. So is there any, because you said that L1A is a managerial or executive level job position that one should hold. Should they have employees here or contract workers in the US because they're in manager position?
So yes, for the L1 visa that we earlier spoke about, I'm not talking about the L1 new office. L1 new office is saying this person is going to come here and start performing with the business, start hiring, right? That is how we project in the petition. Versus for somebody's company, which is already established and we are proposing them for the executive level role, then we also need to evaluate and see what are they going to come and perform here, how many people are they going to manage, what is the type of roles and responsibilities of each person that is going to report to this person. So that's very, very important. So yeah. So if I'm answering your question, yes, people, there is a particular, at least a minimum, we typically say at least 5 to 6 people to report for the person who is coming to the United States, and they must be in the United States. So for that, I'm going to look at all the evidences of these persons who will be reporting to the executive manager.
Okay, got it. Now, next question, app mechanic is asking, when we hire the US based employees for L1, do the employees need to come from same state, or can they work remotely from any US state and employees can work from home?
I'm sorry, the question is unclear. So L1 visa again is for somebody who is coming from the foreign company to the United States. There are other types of change of status that can be done, but I cannot say that over here without properly evaluating the case. Now, if I'm understanding it correctly, your app mechanic is trying to ask somebody can move within the states. Is that
no, when we
question?
the question is actually that, let's say if L1 on L1, some official from an Indian company goes to US, now they have to have employees there. So the question is, do the employees need to come from the same state? Let's say L1A comes to New Jersey. Now all those employees have to be stationed in New Jersey, or they can be in different states, and can they be working from home?
No, L1 visa, typically we never recommend doing work from home, unlike the H1B visa. So for L1 visa, you have to be having office space. If you're saying one employee can sit in your New Jersey office and somebody else can go to the California location and you have an office space there, then yes. If you don't have an office space there and you're projecting L1A visa will sit and work from home, USCIS will reject the petition saying you can do that from India as well. So you need not come over here. The reason why you're sitting in the office is to perform and grow your business. So I would not recommend somebody to look at work from home options for L1 visa. And to answer your question, L1A visa holder can sit in the New Jersey office. And if you're saying one of the other employees wants to work in LA or California, we need proper evidence where this person is going to sit in the L1, in the office in California. So again, office spaces everywhere, the persons whom are being proposed for L1 to sit and work is important.
Okay, so thank you, Geetha. Next question is by Jamal. Jamal is asking, I have C Corporation registered in USA and one of the director wish to visit USA to run business. What type of visa is required?
Yeah, so very one straightforward answer, we can look at the L1 visa, but again, without properly evaluating one of the directors, meaning has he been with the company, with a foreign company for the last 12 months in the consecutive 3 years consistently. So there are those criteria that I need to evaluate, and then I can let you know.
Thank you, Geetha. Next question is by Kishan. Actually, this question is not for anyone here other than me, maybe. So, Kishan, your question is, how is the market of furniture in USA? I don't have an answer for that, but let's be specific for this webinar focusing on company formation L1A, and write an email to me, and then we'll talk about what you're looking at in doing in US with respect to your product line that is furniture. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Reshma is asking, can this subsidiary be established? Oh, hold on, guys, my chat just disappeared. Hold on, hold on. Hold on, Geetha. Where was I? I just disappeared on me. Okay, Reshma is asking, can this subsidiary be established in a virtual office for L1A or a co-working space? Same question.
Same question.
No, so it cannot be, it can be a co-working space, but not
No virtual
office.
office. No.
Okay. All right. Okay. So next question is by App Mechanic that we have addressed already. So Astute Academy is asking, I am opening new company with my 100% personal ownership. In this case, I do not work for 1 year in India, but I own 100% share of US company. I can prove similar work in another company in India. Also, I have space lease on my personal name. Can that be office address as I own 100% shares personally?
So if I'm understanding it correctly, he's asking, he's working for a different company in India and he wants to come to the US on his company basis. Right, Naveen, is that the question?
I'm trying to understand it myself. Let me read it once again and figure it out. It says, I'm opening new company with my 100% personal ownership. In this case, I do not work for 1 year in India, but I own 100% share of US company. I can prove similar work in another company in India. Also, I have space lease on my personal name. Can that be office address as I own 100% share personally? So
yeah, so coming to the office in the United States, ownership and all that is okay. But if you don't have a proper relationship with the company in India, or you don't have a company in India to actually show any existence of the business, then I don't think the eligibility is being met here.
So there is no qualifying relationship.
It is my personal company. So I am an individual, not a company.
Sure, sir. Okay.
I'm an individual, not a company.
I request you
so
to...
I'm opening a 100% owned personal company, maybe LLC or C corporation. I'm not a company in India.
Sure.
I'm an individual.
No, that wouldn't allow you to actually be eligible. You need to have a proper company structure formed. Organizations needs to be formed. And you also need to have this affiliate relationship, which we spoke earlier. And all of those criteria must be met for you to be eligible for an L1 visa. But again, you can reach out to Naveen GNC to explore other visa options for you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Geetha. Okay, so next question is by George. George is asking, my company is in India and we are planning to open a sales office in USA where we will be sending one person from our office for sales marketing only. We will have an office, but this person or probably on more local person will be only staff in the US. The goods will be sent from India directly to the client, and this sales marketing person will be getting salary or commission. Or will he or she be eligible for L1?
Yeah, as long as the criteria that is met, it can be a salesperson, it can be whoever it is, as long as the criteria is met in terms of the company's establishing relationship, the employee being in an executive role or the functional managerial role back in India, and the proposed this thing, as long as the criteria that we discussed for the L1A visa is met, we can. But again, I need to see what are the job duties, what has he or she been performing in the Indian office, and what are they going to do in the US. So definitely, yes, you can. There is an option for you to consider the L1 visa, but again, proper evaluation is required of the documents.
Geeta, as an extension to the question that George has asked, is there a requirement for the number of years a person should be working for the India company before the person becomes eligible for L1A?
At least in the consecutive 3 years, the past 3 years, like say this is 23. So somebody, if you are trying to understand if somebody is eligible after meeting the other criteria, you need to ensure he or she has been working in the past 12 months consecutively in the 3 years. Now, somebody has left the company in working on in 2020, right? And they came back to you now. We can also look at that. So in the past 3 years, the person whom you are referring or you are proposing for the L1 needs to be with the company. And for that, I'm going to check the pay stubs, your employment letters, or any other related documentary evidence to ensure this person is meeting the criteria.
Let me
So
add
yes.
so let me add some extension to it just to make it more clear. Let's say someone is working in India for a company, and that person wants to come on L1A, but he currently has B1, B2, and he keeps on traveling to US for, let's say, 4 or 5 months in a year. Now, would that still count for, because he's working for many years, would that still count towards 1 year regulatory requirement? Or how that B1, B2 visa that the person has, the time he spent in US be accounted for?
So very importantly, I want everybody to know a business visa, B1, B2 visa is not meant for somebody to come and work in the United States. Absolutely no. So that is actually illegal to do. On a business visa, you can only come and then attend the meetings with the clients. You can, do business conferences, but no working. Now, if you want to see the eligibility and come and work in the United States, the best option which we discussed is L1. So if you have been working on the B1, B2 by any chance, and USCIS comes to know that, then there is a risk for the L1 petition one will be filing. So I would highly recommend somebody who's on B1 visa, please do not work in the United States. That is illegal. If you are looking at L1A options, USCIS we need to submit all the B1, B2 visa that you have been holding, your travel history to the United States, what you have been doing over here, everything into the petition, and USCIS will review. So, Naveen, if this answers the question, L1A visa, we will need all the evidences of somebody who what they have done in the United States, and it's okay. I mean, people do travel on the B1B visa, right? B1, B2 visas to the United States, and that is of no risk to the L1 petitions. That is separate. Wonderful. And this is separate.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Geetha. Okay. Karmit Goswami is asking, can our spouse work if we are on L1A visa? And can the L1A visa holder do a part-time job?
So L1 visa holders recently, in the recent times that USCIS has released this, they are called on L2 dependents, and L2 dependents by default are receiving the work authorizations, and which allows them to come to the United States and work. So there is no restriction whether you do part-time, as long as you have the valid visa approvals in hand. An L2 dependent can come and work in the United States.
Okay, can the L1A visa holder do a part-time job also?
No, absolutely no.
Okay, that's no, Karmit. So that's a good question and good that you asked. Okay, so next question is coming from Astute Academy. So the official is asking, if I stay in USA less than 6 months, I am told that L1A has unlimited validity. Is this true?
No, L1A visa does not have unlimited validity. New offices are typically approved for the first 1 year, and wherein the USCIS will review the petitions at the end of 1 year before we file the extensions. And the normal L1 visa for a company which is already existing in the United States, typically 3 years of approval for the first time, if everything is accurate.
Okay. Now Reshma is asking next question. Is bank financing for setting up a US business available to foreigners who wish to set up shop there? Maybe Ajay can address this question. Ajay ji? Okay, I see Ajay, but is muted. Ajay, you are muted. If you can hear this question, the question is bank financing for setting up a US business available to foreigners who wish to set up shop there? Okay, taking a liberty, most likely no. The banks here will not finance you because you don't have credit history right now. And so in your case specifically, what will be the collateral? And since you don't own any asset there, there won't be any any credit history. So you will not get financing. But this is my personal take from my experience. Okay, Reshma, so let's go to the next question. Karmit is asking, is it mandatory to hire people in the first year? If yes, what is the minimum number of people we can write in the petition?
So, Naveen, a little unclear of the question. Can you come again?
Yeah, is it mandatory to hire people in the first year? So if someone is coming here on L1A, this is my presumption is, so Karmit is saying that somebody comes, so let's say Karmit comes here on L1A after the qualifying relationship. Is it mandatory to hire people in the first year?
Yes, if you're doing an L1A new visa, the L1 new office visa, then yes, whatever is being projected in the business plan, including all the hiring, everything, all the projections, USCIS will mandatorily review at the end of the year and approve the petition only once the criteria is met. So yes, so whatever you're submitting in the petition, that needs to be met.
Okay, now that is subsequent question was, if yes, what is the minimum number of people we can write in the petition? I mean, hirees.
So typically, most of the companies say at least 3 to 4 people. But again, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, or it can be 10. But whatever you are proposing in the business plan, that needs to be met. So there is no minimum numbers. But I have seen in my experience, people go with like 3 or 4 people as a startup.
Okay. So here we have a question from Paramjot, App Mechanic. They're asking, what is the percentage of RFE while filing L1 or L1 extension?
So unless and until, to answer this question, unless and until we have all the paperwork properly documented, at least in my experience, I have seen 99% approval rates for cases which do not have proper documentary evidences. Then there is a chance of receiving the RFEs. But we as a team will ensure we cover all the documentary evidences that we have asked for. All the criteria is met, only then we proceed to next steps of filing the visas. So if you ask what is the percentage of RFEs, then if the documentation is not in a proper condition, is the evidences that we submit is not sufficient, that is when USCIS issues RFEs.
Okay, so RFE for everyone, just for your notice, RFE stands for request for evidence. But sometimes when the government does not understand or they have more query, so they send you an RFE. Okay, next question is by Pankaj Dikshit. Pankaj is asking, we have a small export firm here in India since 2005. Total number of employees are on books is 4. It is a proprietorship firm. My wife is a proprietor, would like to open a firm in the USA. Already we have some buyers from USA. Is it possible to apply for wife L1A visa?
Yeah, so again, there needs to be an office in the US. Wife can apply. There is no restriction, but you need to have proper evidence of what she has been doing in the foreign company, which is the Indian company. And we need to see all the evidences that we spoke about earlier. So they can apply. We need to ensure the L1A criteria is met even for your wife.
Okay, wonderful. The next question is by CK Rao. Is asking, can I just open an office in USA for doing real estate business?
And I don't know if he's talking about virtual. I think Ajay will be the best person to office if doesn't involve any immigration questions.
Yes, you can office to do a real estate business, Mr. Rao. So no one stops you. You can do that. Of course, people do it all the time and you can do that too. So, okay, now Ajay ji has left already because he had another meeting. So let's go to the few questions left and then we'll wrap it up. It's the question is by Sam. Sam is asking, can we get the recording of this session? Yes, if it gets, because my system hung up a few times. I don't know how. So if that is recorded, I will certainly get you the recording to you. Okay. All right. So App Mechanic is asking how many minimum number US based employees are required to be hired to have a good case for L1A visa extension, and how many US based employees will be required for green card filing?
So I would say at least, please consider at least 4 to 5 people to properly show an org chart for somebody to say, they have an organization to manage, at least 4 to 5 people.
In the US.
Yes.
So let me ask you this question on behalf of App Mechanic. What will be the minimum salary?
So I wouldn't say there is a number, but the way we do is, if somebody is saying for a location in California, there is a prevailing wage determination, which is not required, which we will see and propose. Like there is with the Department of Labor that we could see in which place this office is, say, for example, New Jersey. We know the counties, based on the counties, we can let you know what a minimum wage level for this particular location is. And based on that, somebody can come up. But to answer the question, what is the minimum salary across the United States? I cannot at this point say. Now, if you're coming back to me with a location specific, then I can answer your question.
Okay. Now, do they have to be on W-2 or they can be contract workers? Geetha?
No, on W-2, full-time employees.
So they have to be paid salary itself, or it can be salary and commission.
Commission is another choice. It depends on the company if they want to pay, right? A commission is typically any company would want to have to retain the employees. That's not an issue, but they have to be paid salary, full-time paid.
Salary full-time. I got it. Okay. So I just wanted to ensure that App Mechanic, his question, I think that will be the subsequent question. So I asked on his behalf. Okay. Next question is by Samsung. It's asking, want to open up my office in US? We asked. Okay. Manvi, please share the link where, you share it again and address Samsung's question. And I will request you, if anybody who has not registered for this webinar, please share your email ID and phone number so that we can reach out to you and fill the form. And, there are many times where there are more options to be explored that we can share. It's easy for us to get back to you. So our next question is that if we open C company, and Mr. Lohoti is asking, do we need L1 visa compulsory?
Unless and until there is a need for you to come and perform business over here, or you need to be physically present over here and look for options, you need not worry about the L1 visa. If you want to open a company and stay in India and perform business in the United States, and based on what kind of a business you are looking into, Ajay can help you. Ajay and Naveen can help you do that.
Got it. Now,
yeah. Unless there is a need for you to be in the United States to perform the business, then do not worry about it.
Yes, Mr. Lohoti, it is not compulsory. You don't have to have somebody on L1A if you open up a company in the US. Okay, now Jay's question you have already addressed. How many minimum people should be employed for L1A consistently? So there is 4 to 5 as Geetha has suggested in referring to a previous question. Ashok is asking, hi, can I ask an auto question? So I prefer that if you write it down that helps us to understand it better. And then, we maintain the quorum. It becomes easy for us, sir. And
Yeah.
in the case, please, call Manvi, and then you can ask the question there. So let's, only focus on the questions which are in the written format. Now, Jay is asking, how many employees does the company need to employ? We have answered. To secure L1A consultancy year after year. So we have answered that. George is asking, typically, how long does it take to get L1A visa?
It depends. Typically, USCIS in the current scenarios is taking at least 3 to 4 months to review the petition and give an adjudication. But there is another option for you to expedite, which is like a premium processing, $2,500. The adjudication when you do a premium processing comes in 15 days. So there are two ways. Either if you just file and want to wait, whenever USCIS returns will take at least 4 to 5 months, and then you want to do the consular processing, file the DS-160, come through the consulate in India. That's whole lengthy process which takes about, I would say, 7 to 8 months. But if you're looking at a premium processing, additional $2,500 from what you pay to the USCIS, which will give you adjudication in 15 days.
Okay, wonderful. So now next question, Fiaz is asking, we are in handicraft businesses operating in India, having already B1, B2 visa. What is the criteria of opening up a branch in the US? Fiaz, I can address that question later on. We have done that already in the earlier part of the webinar. So Manvi, please connect with Fiaz. Fiaz, fill up the form that Manvi has shared, or you can type a direct message to Manvi, and then she will work out with you on the criteria. But it is not challenging as it is in India. It's fairly simple, easy, straightforward process. With the company name, LLC, corporation, or which state do you want to open it up, and from the owner, it is the percentage of ownership that you want, with 2 partners, 3 partners, 2 members, 3 members, or a single member, and your address and a copy of your passport. That's all. And if you have a US partner, then for US partner, it will be the address or a passport copy and the social security number. Okay. All right, Fia. So talk to Manvi on that. So Karmit is asking next question, is it mandatory to hire people in the first year? If yes, we have already addressed that question. Let's go to the next one. Jamal, please send. Okay, Jamal will talk about the recording. App Mechanic is asking, when do you start filing for GC process for L1A visa?
We can do any time in the second year. I would typically recommend doing that in the second year of extension after the initial year. So there is proper evidence of, USCIS would look at what has been done even when you file the green card. So after 1 year of somebody who is in the US, after their entry to the US, I would look at the second year to file the GC.
Wonderful. Okay, Bhavna, thank you. I'll send you have shared the email. I'll send you the recording. Ashok Saraf is asking, we are already in business in India. Can we have one-to-one meeting on Zoom to discuss requirement for setting up business in USA? Yes, Ashok, we can discuss that up. Please fill the form. Manvi, please get in touch with Ashok, and then we will address your requirements within a stipulated time period. No issues there. Ashok has shared the contact his email ID. Manvi, so connect with Ashok. Okay. Mr. Lohiti is asking, can I have a C-type company be on a B1, B2 visa? So there is B1, B2 visa is not required. I mean, it has nothing to do with forming a company. So you can form a company, either a C-type company, that means a C corporation or LLC, sitting from India, and you don't require to have any sort of visa on your passport. So you can do that. Ashok is given the email ID, Manvi, so you can get in touch. Okay, Ashok is asking another question. Geetha, this is for you. My L1A visa was rejected for short of 1 year out of 3 years. But the question is not there. So can you?
If it was rejected, we need to know why it was rejected and
Can
all,
I-
because it
Sorry to
definitely
interrupt.
impacts.
No, sir.
Can I?
Sir, well, I will request you, please write it down. It makes us
Okay.
easy. Or talk to Manvi,
Okay.
and then we'll set up a call, please. Right?
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. My apologies for saying that, because we have we have over 2 hours, so I just want to wrap it up as soon as that we can. I know you all, will be waiting for your dinner time. My apologies, but let's get on to this. Fill it up fast. Manvi, in the link, put up HTTPS, because otherwise I want to make sure it shows as a link. Okay, so Jay is asking, could you ballpark salary for 4 employees in New Jersey? Salary in New Jersey is, let's say, $40,000 a year. So would it be so it will become under $60,000?
No, I'm sorry, I cannot answer like that because I need to know an L1A visa has a minimum criteria, a salary that we could propose evaluating based on the location. If you're saying New Jersey, I want to see where is your office, which county are you sitting in, and based and propose a salary that meets the Department of Labor's requirements. I cannot say 40K is okay for you to pay to somebody, and that does not meet the minimum wage requirements of that particular county or state. So to answer that question, we will need to evaluate the location of the office.
Wonderful question and very well answered, Geetha. So Ashok is asking you for your contact number, Ashok. Please talk to Manvi, and please keep in, yes, Manvi has already shared her email ID. And Manvi, please share your contact number also. Please keep in mind, see, this is a webinar which is open. Geetha is not giving any sort of opinion, a legal opinion here. She's sharing from her experience of filing thousands of applications, what it takes to get an L1A or visa approved. And please remember, when the questions become very specific in time, and then we get into the consultation part of it, because then we have to spend time in understanding your business requirements, and then we take upon the case on the basis of the facts that you will share with us. So please talk to Manvi, and then accordingly we'll set up your call with Geetha. All right, so George has said thank you. Okay, George, thank you very much. Samsung has shared the contact number, and Mr. C.K. Rao is asking, I already have a B1, B2 visa. I want to open a C Corporation LLC, park every year a certain amount of money and do business in US. Is it okay? Yes, it is okay. You don't worry about parking. Talk about doing business and the money will get saved. When you say park money, it is more like you're sending money from India and keeping it there. No, generate revenue, send the expenses to India. Whatever money you're left with as a profit is your parked money. So yes, but just to answer your question, yes, you can do that. Even B2 visa has nothing to do with forming a company in the US. You don't need any sort of visa in your passport to form a company. You just can form a company, period. That's it. Okay. So Mr. Lohit is, thanks for taking all your queries. Manvi has given email ID. Please share your relevant forms, etc. Manvi, please share the relevant form to Mr. Lohiti. And Manvi's contact number are there. And Amit is saying, thank you very much for taking time. Hopefully this will long way helping me out, walk the final steps. Of course it will. So I think this is where we are at the end of this webinar. It's almost 2 hours plus. Thank you very much. So many of you have spent time. Yes. So companies formation in the US is not challenging, and compliance is not challenging as it is in India. It's fairly simple. It's fairly straightforward. It is, if you optimize your business plan, even starting a company and doing business, and secondly for L1A, it makes it very easy to run a company and fulfill your yearly compliances. Not only that, as I said, company formation, L1A visa, we do warehousing of products, and then we run a business center here. We do customs, we do movement of goods from one warehouse to another warehouse, and we do sales facilitation in certain cases. We bring our people on board to work on few hours in a day, and then on certain remuneration, that is monthly basis, and commission. We do that because it will be hard for someone to find a person who can work part-time. So we do it 2 hours in a week, kind of possibilities we explore with our prospects. Please keep in mind, as I just said, the idea is to engage with you based on your requirements and guide you, and then work with you to help you expand your business in the US market. We can open up a company in any of the 50 states. Even though we are based out of New Jersey, it makes it very, very easy for us since we have all our team based out of New Jersey, and the value proposition becomes very clearer. Fill up the form. My request, And please share Manvi's contact number in your phone so that you can talk to her directly. Tomorrow I will be back in the US. Any specific questions for me, you talk to Manvi, fill up the form on entryopen.com. Entryindia.com is also our domain. You will see that in our email IDs, but our new portal coming up is entryopen.com. There is a form there. Just scroll down the page, fill the form. All your details will be shared with all my team members. In my next webinar, we will be covering warehousing and we will be covering e-commerce also. We do e-commerce sales also. So we will cover that up. You will all receive an email from us, and then we will definitely work with you to help you out, guys. Well, thank you very much. It's 2 hours plus. So many of you stayed back. Thank you. And any questions, please send an email. My email ID I've shared already. It is npathak@entryindia.com. Manvi's email ID is right there at the end of the chat box. Please send an email and then we'll work with you. Fill up the form if you have not done so already, and we'll take it forward from there. All right, everyone. So you all have a wonderful evening from India who's joined, and anyone from US, a very good morning to you. Thank you, Geetha. Thank you so much. Ajay ji has already left, but he's there, I can see. So, well, I'll thank him later. Okay, Geetha. So I'll
Thank
be
you.
back with you. All right. I know Geetha is totally tied up because everyone, this is a H1B season going on, and there are not 100 but thousands of applications being submitted. And Geetha took a time out for us to talk to all of you. So I thanks Geetha much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Absolutely.
the opportunity.
We'll work with you all and to get you started in the US. You take care. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.